Good evening and welcome to the Pompey Politics Podcast.
I'm Ian Tiny Morris.
And I'm Simon Sansbury.
Good evening, and we are focusing all our attention this week much closer to right down into the centre of Portsmouth, and a guest we've been looking to get on the show for some time. Simon, who is our guest for this evening?
So our esteemed guest this evening is Councillor Claire Udi of Charles Dickens. Welcome, Claire.
Hello. How are you? Do you want me to tell you the story about how you finally got me on the podcast?
Well,
Feel free.
we absolutely, because let's be honest, we've tried luring you in without success thus far. So what finally tipped the balance?
I was completely smashed at Butlins at an indie music weekend.
Excellent.
And Simon had emailed all councillors about hustings on the podcast, and then me being really drunk messaged on Facebook, and now I'm here. So moral of the story is, you should always ask me to do something for you when I'm drunk, and I'll probably say yes.
Well, that's a t-shirt worth wearing.
That's definitely a tip.
I was going to say that's a bold way to.
After I woke up with the worst hangover in Bognor, I can't tell you how awful it was walking through Bognor town centre feeling like I was going to die the whole way to the train station. But yeah, sure.
Yeah, who were the headliners? Who made the impression musically?
Jarvis Cocker, so Jarvis, his solo project, which was on a Saturday night. Sunday, I can't remember, because we ended up at a silent disco that we're playing, honestly, because it's a 3-day festival. Obviously Friday, when you turn up somewhere, you get on it. And Saturday you're like, oh, I don't know if I should, so you just drink a little bit and you're like, I'm really tired. And then Sunday you've recovered enough to absolutely go bonkers. And then it's a Monday, it's early January, you're in a seaside town and the weather is appalling, and you need to walk to a train station with a hangover that was horrible.
Yeah, no,
it's a great weekend, and I bought tickets again, and they've announced OMD and Peter Hook and the Light and stuff. It's going to be great. And that wasn't a paid product placement, because I didn't say where it is, but it's Rockaway Beach, if you do want to know. But I'm going if anyone wants to go.
No worries, we don't mind a bit of product placement. So to get into the podcast, so Claire, you're down the route some way. So introduce yourself, the people you represent, and what got you into local politics.
I used to be in the Labour Party, so I joined Labour the moment Jeremy Corbyn was elected leader. And then I went to my first meeting a few months later, and I kind of found myself joining this club of people that were mostly like-minded, because I still think I was young and naive, even though in 2015 I was still like in my late 20s. I had no formal education. I was just doing an access course at that time. I was a mother to some young children. Like, my daughter was 1 at the time. And I felt a bit lost, but I felt like there was kind of some hope with Jeremy Corbyn. I'm inherently left-wing. I think I was brought up, I did read the Daily Mail every day, because my parents did, because it was the only paper they bought. So I didn't realise I was left-wing until I was a little bit older, and I kind of gained my own critical thought. I think that kind of happens in households where you're just told one thing and you don't realise that there's a million other different opinions. And so I joined this party. I digressed a bit then. I joined Labour and I started helping out within a few weeks. I joined some socialists and started going to protest for the first time properly. I'd been to like a civil service one in about 2010 regarding cuts or pay. It was early coalition that I went to one of my friends, because they were all in the PCS. So I started out there, and then about a year and a half later, after helping Stephen Morgan become a councillor in Charles Dickens, I was asked if I wanted to apply for the seat whilst I was in the middle of university at the time. So I went forward and did it, and I started campaigning, and then things went tragically wrong during the election campaign, and I left Labour about a week and a half before. Was it a week and a half before the election, or 2 weeks before? I think it was 2 weeks before the election. I just had enough, and I was tired, and I was broken, and I felt tragically let down by my friends within the party, and I decided that was it, and everyone could go F themselves. So, and I stopped campaigning at that point, And I didn't want to do anything. Well, I carried on doing some bits. I was visiting coffee mornings, and I still went to those coffee mornings in those last 2 weeks. And I said that I didn't know what was going to happen. I was just sad, and I just wanted to go to the coffee mornings in the area again. And I'd actually gone to a pub quiz on the night of the election, and I got home and I got texted by a few people saying that I should come to the council. I turned up in a sparkly rainbow sequin dress and took my seat.
That's a bold look.
Well, it was a good look. There's a picture of me in the paper. But afterwards, after I was elected in, the press were trying to talk to me about me moving from Labour, and my husband's dragging me away. But someone was like, "Could you just take a photo of like pretending you've won again?" And there's a picture of me. It's like, and that's like a stock photo that's used for me in the news now. My friend, I got an article written for her because she started up some group about singing with older people in dementia care homes. You two have disappeared. That makes me worried.
No, I'm still here.
No, we're still
Okay.
here. Sorry, that's just me. That's just me playing with the image. Don't worry, that's fine. We're okay. We're still here.
So my friend Lou, she started something, and I got her a feature in the paper, and they accidentally used that picture for me instead of me in that picture of me within the council in the sparkly dress going, hey. But they use it all the time, that picture, and I'm quite glad that they do because it is pretty good. But other than that, I was upset that I'd won to a degree, but because I've been at the pub quiz, I was a little bit drunk, so I was kind of just reveling in the moment for a second. I'd written a really short speech on my phone to read out because it wasn't going to reference anything. It was just a general thank you for electing me to the seat, because I spent over the weekend, well, on the Saturday, I had a pre-booked gig, so that was my treat. I went to see Left Field in London. Went up with Cy Bunting, actually. So hello, Cy, you're probably watching. But I came back and I had to make a decision whether I was going to stay and do what I was elected to do, or just chuck it in immediately and call a by-election. But I was so angry about leaving the Labour Party and wanting to make a difference that I decided that I was going to stay, and I just started doing everything by myself and having to get to know offices and people in the area by myself. I realised that a lot of the things I just wasn't taught on the campaign trail, and I literally had no idea going into to a huge degree. I'd met a lot of people on the road and in the area, but nothing about the processes of what happens in the council and other bits and bobs. And I feel like that was a place where I was kind of let down as a candidate within a party. But I got over it, chucked myself in there, got to know quite a lot of the Lib Dems who I made friends with really quickly, because obviously they wanted me in their little party, but obviously I wasn't going to go. But I made friends with lots of people, especially Dave Ashmore in my first year. Like, we just hung out together and mucked about a bit, and it was nice to muck around with someone and just kind of not be in a suit all the time and just have a nice time. Because being a councillor, I know you get moaned at a lot. That's a big thing about being a councillor. You get moaned at all the time by residents, and I'm fine with that. That's part of my job. But there needs to be a fun element of it, and there is sometimes when you get invited to stuff.
And I guess that must have been, and I think one of the things that I certainly didn't realise, and I guess those that aren't close to you didn't, it was that you did entertain the thought of almost handing that election victory back and saying, no thanks, it's not for me. Because I guess if you're in a party and you've got that support mechanism around you, that makes that transition into being a councillor, you have got somebody to point at where you should go and who you should talk to. So I guess standing there, effectively on your own, that must have been a really tough decision. Because you've painted a picture there with, I've got a 1-year-old daughter, or my daughter's sort of just coming up to school age, and I'm in the middle of a degree. I know what I'll do. I'll be a councillor at the same time. It sounds to me like you've must have been quite a decision.
I think part of me, I might have just been on one at the time, because I'm very good at jumping into things and getting focused a lot and wanting to do something and doing everything and kind of almost wanting to be the centre of attention to a degree. And then sometimes my focus just turns off in a heartbeat. But when I joined the Labour Party, I had serious intentions. I wanted to change the world. And I kind of saw after, I think it was about 2-3 years of being in there, well, 2.5 years, that I wasn't going to change the world, and I was barely going to change anything in the city unless I kind of conformed to a particular ideology, which is probably one of the main problems with the Labour Party as a whole, is that it is so torn between everyone. And I feel like a lot of us were ostracised, and I know that's still happening now, nationally and locally, and I just didn't fit in anymore, and I was just getting leerier and leerier to people, and because I just saw people and I was kind of like, I think it kind of comes out, and this is the only time I'm going to swear, that I think this is the Pompey in me, but I feel like you can't bullshit a bullshitter, and all I saw for a long time, and I still see it now, as bullshitters. And that's where I just feel like people didn't have honest intentions, genuine intentions, not honest intentions, genuine intentions, and just made me angry, upset, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. And plus, I'd sidelined my whole family for months in this campaign, and I didn't realise it until I needed my family when everything was falling apart, and my husband defended my honour quite brilliantly at that point, and it kind of snapped me out of something of being so driven into, oh my God, I have a young family, what am I up to? And that's why through my council time, when I've had stuff to go to in the ward, my family have always come with me if it's at the weekends, always involved them, always want them out and about, and they enjoy coming out and seeing different people, and always asking about the adventure playgrounds and if we can go. And like, I live in just like in Fratsy or whatever you want to call it, but I will still take my time after I finish being a councillor, taking my family to places where there's events there, because number one, they're so inclusive and lovely. They're mostly free, and it's just a lot nicer. People are a lot nicer there.
Excellent.
I don't even know what question I was answering. I just went off on one, but like, I feel like I'm doing okay. It's fine, right?
That's okay. Don't worry. You're doing well. So, having said that, you're standing down this.
Yeah,
you're standing down this
I am
election.
standing down. Few
What's it-
reasons.
Yeah.
Number one, I can't. We had a brief discussion about this before. Now I finished university, I have a full-time job, which I've had since about June, which I kind of got by accident applying through an agency. I didn't realise I'd get an interview in the job so quickly, but it doesn't pay very well, considering my qualifications, but I love it. And my husband's like middle-income job. I live in private rented accommodation. I have 2 children. Energy bills are on the rise, and we've had quite a big rise in our bill that we've got the letter through, that I just simply cannot afford to be a councillor. That's one reason. Second reason is that I get a lot of crap from people that don't like me. During like the early BLM stuff, when people were defending our war memorials for no reason, I made a post on Facebook because loads of people stood on Guildhall Square at like 11 o'clock in the morning drinking Stella on a Saturday, apparently defending our war memorials. And I was like, this is, you know what this is. This is just comes down to a line of people thinking they're defending Britain or whatever, but it's not. It's like people being pseudo-racist over this stuff, because people like me who believe in BLM and social justice don't have any intention of doing anything to desecrate war memorials. I don't know where people get this mindset from. So I just made some point saying that they're all maybe racist, and that was a whole weekend of threats of violence, rape threats, diggity death threats, but rape threats that I had to report to the police and stuff, and complaints at the council. And that was the day my partner turned around, Aaron, and he was just like, I can't have you run again. Like, I love you, but please don't. And it was the moment he said that, I was like, fine, that's fine. I think I'd already made a decision. Also, unless you have a party machine behind you and a lot of money to get you doing leaflets and postal vote letters and all sorts, Portsmouth, I know they voted for Councillor Madgwick in Paulsgrove, but that was a campaign that was obviously had money behind it. He was putting letters out to the whole of Paulsgrove months before the election, and other things that I can't afford to do that. And I could have helped everybody individually in that ward, and I still doubt that I'd be voted in, because people do vote within party lines in Portsmouth.
And I think that's, I mean, first of all, you know, the treatment you described there is appalling, and nobody should ever experience that. And I think it's important we recognise that. But I think that, you know, the challenge that you pose there in terms of being the independent and not having that party machine behind you, you know,
It means
it
I can
does.
run my mouth. That's what happened for me. That's happened.
So if we look ahead to May, you know, we've got 4 candidates standing in Charles Dickens. You know, we've got Labour, Lib Dem, who's the other one? Conservatives. Oh yes, I should have realised that. And the Portsmouth Independence Party. You know, it, are any of those candidates appealing to you, or you know, if you're forced to, you know, we're not forced to, but you've got that opportunity to go up and put your cross in the box, would you be backing any of them?
So I live in Central Southsea, so my vote is probably, in that respect, will probably be going to my opponent in the 2018 Charles Dickens election, Sarah, for Lib Dems, because Lib Dems helped me out a lot, and I have a lot of loyalty to them, and I normally do now.
And that was the hottest ward in the whole borough last year, wasn't it?
It was, and I cannot tell you how devo I was over Steve Pitt, to the point I was walking to the pub to meet my friends at Croxton, and I'd received the news that potentially that he'd lost his seat during the kind of initial count. And I was so upset that I bought everyone a shot of tequila at the table. I couldn't tell them why. I was like, we're all doing a shot of tequila. Look at that. But other than that, in Charles Dickens, I know who the candidates are apart from the Conservative one. So my friend who lives in the ward got the generic Portsmouth Independent Party letter that come through saying, hello, I'm thinking about standing in your ward. So basically, you say yes because it costs money, blah, 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 I'm going to run for you. And it's one of those letters that says, oh, I hate party politics and stuff. Obviously, I googled the person on there, and whilst he says he lives in council estates, he also lives in Chichester, according to his Facebook. So there you go. Number 2, I haven't met the Labour candidate, and she seems like an absolutely lovely woman. I believe she's Nigerian. She's done a lot in the ward. I've spoken to Cal and Kirsty about her just to see who she was, and they're like, she's lovely, and that's great. So normally I would probably vote Labour, but Maria's running in for the Lib Dems, and I know Maria so well, and I have done since being a councillor, because we've done stuff in the local charity patch together. She didn't live in the ward, and now she lives in the ward, and I see her quite a lot. Obviously, Simon will know who she is. Big fixture in Pompey politics stuff. She goes to housing, so it's like housing consortium meetings. You'll see her at council meetings. She was at the last. Oh, am I allowed to say that she was at the last one? You're not allowed to film, but she would tell you that she goes to meetings, and through the fact that I love her and I know that she'd be brilliant, I would vote for Maria.
Excellent.
She would be a good councillor, and she wouldn't take any crap from people either, and she'll get to bring her little bear with her everywhere, and I like that. And we get to talk about, she has a massive collection of DVDs, and we talk about what DVDs and books she has, so I like that too. She does deal with community issues, but like, you get to know people on such a personal level when you're like,
you get to know a bit about them. Okay, so and it's certainly been as if the start wasn't tumultuous enough. The 4 years that you've been councillor has been quite a tumultuous time. There's been lots of things going on. So, what would you say is the result or change you're most proud of in your 4 years?
Funding LGBTQ services. I managed to fund them a little bit, and now I've been promised they've been sucked into the budget for good. So it just started out, so 4 years started a long time ago under an officer at the council who's now a director, and it was like a LGBT service for 13 to 19-year-olds, and it's like a once a week youth club for people to go to who are a little bit lost, etc., about identity and sexuality, and obviously you get appropriate advice and a place to fit in and support work. So I talked to some of the support workers I was friends with, so we were chatting and said money, and I said, oh, we've got this idea. I was like, what about the support that you have from like 19 to 25, like up to care leaver age? So I managed to get some money in for for a worker in for that. And then that's had a good uptake. And then the following year, I had money put in for the parents and carers and young people from 8 to 13. So that always involves a parent and carer or carer, because identity issues do happen from quite a young age, and people might need support, especially parents need support at that point. It's not like they're going straight in going, oh my God, they're not going to go turn up and go, oh my God, my son's wearing a dress, I need some support. It's like people who genuinely, who have had issues for a continued amount of time, and people that have not been able to get anywhere with a doctor because waiting lists are so long. So I was quite proud of that. And also the For You thing, when it was for adults, it was called For Me, and now it's called For Us. For the young people, I don't think of those names, but for me, that's the best bit about it. They thought those names, but it's been taken into the budget for good. So the people that have been employed to do those things don't have to worry about their jobs. That was my worry when I was going to leave. And the fact that those services get to carry on to such a degree probably saves quite a few lives without us realising. So that's nice to know. I feel like it's a good achievement.
Yeah, often with those programs, they're sort of funded year to year, aren't they? And the people that work in them are always got sort of half an eye over their shoulder in terms of, well, if the funding runs out, all of this stops. So do you feel that going forward they're in safe hands now? For
a few years, yeah. If anyone tries to change anything at the budget, they'll know that I'll just come back and start shouting at a council meeting as a member of the public. So Gerald knows this. So they got to watch out for me, I guess. But yeah, sure. I think at the moment there's a good few years in it, definitely. But I don't know what the scope of cuts is going to be, or anything, or the scope of the world. I don't know if we'll get nuked next Tuesday or whatever. So at this particular moment, we could all be just living like, was it Sheffield? That's where Fred's was set, wasn't it? In Sheffield, is that where the bomb went off? So yeah, we could be like Sheffield, post Fred's. Not what it is now, but like Fred's, Portsmouth.
Yeah, anybody of a certain age remembers Threads, which was you
know what? It took me this
set
long
in Sheffield on BBC.
Yeah.
It's go and look it up on YouTube or look it up. There's it's etched into people's memories. If you've seen it, you can't forget it. So
yeah, we don't know
Ian,
the scope, because the cuts have been so relentless for such a long time that. And I know that the Lib Dem budget this year said, we're not going to make any cuts next year. This is how we're going to do that. I'd be like, how do you even? I said in the meeting, how do you know that's true? Like things are changing so rapidly in this world. A month ago, the Ukraine was all right. Putin was kind of saying, I'm not going to invade Ukraine, but we all knew he was going to do it. And now it's a decimated country with millions of refugees. And that was in a matter of a week.
Yep.
It's a scary world. It's a scary time.
So if we look at the makeup of Portsmouth Council, and I'm sure there are many, many hours of your life that you're never going to get back in that council chamber, but yourself and Jeanette Smith worked closely together for the Portsmouth People's Progressives, and often, it meant that, even with the chamber as tight as it was, it meant that people would be looking to sort of court your votes. You referenced George, who came in as a sort of third independent, and now there's this Portsmouth Independence group. How do you see the council chamber working, going forward? What do you think the future is for independence in Portsmouth?
I'm not too sure. I want to say that unless you have a lot of money, like I said before, unless you have a lot of money going into your campaign, I don't think you'd get anywhere. Like, I think back to, which I still call the UKIPPing of 2014, which was in Portsmouth, where it was a very Brexit related campaign, and loads of councils across England had so many people voting UKIP because people were kind of conflating elections at the same time, I suppose. They were so angry about the EU at this point in 2014 still that they all voted UKIP, and they voted UKIP in areas like Charles Dickens, Nelson, Paulsgrove, Baffins, and excluding Baffins at the moment, a lot of places these people are being voted for in areas where they are people living in poverty, don't usually vote, very low turnout, people that probably wouldn't vote for a party because they feel like it's establishment. And I get that, because I'd rather not vote for a party, I'd rather vote for a person, definitely. And in the Baffins, it's weird, I don't know why, I feel like it's the aspirational working class that live there. So lots of people who may have come from trades, but kind of bought their own houses and stuff. I worked in the Baffins area for a really long time, and I love Baffins a lot. But it's full of geezers and Baffins. I can't be saying it like that.
There is a theory that says if you turn up in the jolly tax at about 5 o'clock on a Saturday with 30 grand in folding, you can get yourself a house built by the end of the weekend.
Well, probably is true. Like when I worked in Baffins, I was looking for a house, and like tradesmen were coming in, and I was like talking to regulars. I was like, I might know a house that you can rent and all stuff like this. So you get anything that you want into Baffins. It's a lovely little village. I love it there.
Yeah.
But I think it's the same kind of mentality of wanting to vote for someone different. So maybe Portsmouth Independence Party do have a chance if they're sending out letters saying, I don't want to put up with the party bullshit, but, and they're literally using that word in a letter, but I feel like people will vote for what's comfortable. More of your middle class voters in Baffins will probably still vote Lib Dem no matter what, but obviously my vote is with Jeanette. And pending, because I've got a job that might be is within the civil service, and I'm hoping to move about, I might not be able to campaign. So I'm hoping that I still can and help her during the election. But if I do move about, I won't be able to, and I'll have to shut down my councillor page immediately, which is a bit sad for the job.
Yeah, and I guess so. Yeah, I guess that. So, do you keep your councillor page all the way up to the May election?
Yeah, so I still don't know what I'm going to do with it. Like, I could just turn it back into a campaigning page. I think it's got like 600 likes, and I have, after the whole BLM statues thing, I got quite a lot of likes in, and also after organising co-organising the protest that happened outside the Guildhall in October, got quite a few likes in. And sorry, that distracted me, that chat bit.
Sorry, Claire.
It's all right. I'm sorry, it's distracted. That I've got a lot of people that might not be from Portsmouth following me, so I could turn into an influencer. There could be an admin spot on a very famous meme page that I'm allowed to have after May as well.
Really?
Yeah. That I've had nothing to do with this whole time, and I've not allowed to do with.
No, absolutely. We'll delineate between those two.
Yeah,
No,
the BBC, so product placement is allowed, but
yeah.
The Portsmouth News did a news article about influencers from Portsmouth, and it said about all these people that had like thousands of followers, or not even, like some had like 5,000 or whatever. And I just made a sly comment saying, "Did you know me in Portsmouth has 11,000 followers?" I was like, so maybe I could put a campaign in and become a proper social media influencer for Portsmouth if it pays the bills. If it stops me from having a real job, that'd be nice, to be fair.
Yeah, that is the dream. But coming back to the council chamber, it you know, again, how do you view the, you know, there's a school of thought that says there's the Conservatives or not the Conservatives. It almost doesn't matter who you vote for, whether you vote for Labour or, you know, you vote for the Portsmouth Progressive People or you vote for the independent group. You know, all of those people that aren't the Lib Dems are only ever going to back the Lib Dems because they're not going to back the Conservatives.
Yeah, I think that's true to a big degree. Like, because that I subscribe to the thought of never Tories, and you know what? Being a councillor has taught me working with people does help the city for its benefits. And I have said this in council meetings. I'm willing to cooperate and work with Conservative politicians for the betterment of our city. But I think when it comes to big voting, like budgets and stuff, we could agree. Like if people spoke before the budget and like negotiated with people, then maybe we could do like a big, lovely, all-inclusive budget. I know that Gerald brought up something about how Isle of Wight do it. I can't remember what it was. So it is hard because I feel like it would be never Tory. I think if Portsmouth independent politicians came in and they're given a free vote, then maybe they might vote Conservative. I know that there's an ex-UKIPper running in Cocking, and if he got a seat, he's not going to want to vote for the Lib Dems, is he?
Well, it's an interesting point that we did put it to George, but it is interesting that, you know, of the 8 seats that they're contesting, 6 of them are held by Conservatives. So they're not helping us just at the minute. If I'm honest.
No, but like they should contest Portsgrove. That's their right, isn't it? And Labour should be contesting Portsgrove as well. But I feel like they've completely given up on it, and I didn't want to give up on it. My family come from Portsgrove, and I put a lot of work in Portsgrove. Like I joined as a councillor, I joined the Portsgrove Community Association as a councillor representative when I joined as a councillor. So because I wanted to see what was going on in Portsgrove. If I ran again, I think I'd consider running in Portsgrove, because my heart, like whilst I didn't grow up there, I spent a lot of time there with my nan every weekend, and my whole family are from there. And my heart kind of lives up there, and I've seen how Labour have just kind of chucked it away. So Portsgrove are very ripe for an independent type politician, because they did have Labour for decades. They always did. My nan everyone voted Labour for a long time in Portsgrove, like post-war areas always did, and it was thriving. And then all of a sudden, the Blair years came along, things just kind of got chucked aside, and then Penny came along, and like Penny's like, I'm not going to say Penny's been all right, but Penny has been all right, hasn't she?
I think so.
She's in the area. You see her in Portsmouth. She's done more for trans rights than I feel like Labour have lately. So, and she comes out and she says some things that would really annoy the rest of her party at the moment. Like, I'm still never Tory, but Penny's an all right MP, and like this is going to be put on YouTube, and my friends are going to be really pissed off when I'm saying that. But like, here you are. But like, that's what my time as a councillor has taught me, is that I'm willing to listen to people to a degree, and yeah.
And yes, and I guess kind of the thing that happens at local politics, aside from the kind of the pantomime in budget meetings or in the full council meeting, actually what everybody that we speak to talks about is actually how much the parties work, how basically councillors work with each other to get things done, regardless of party lines. They're just trying to find a way through. It just seems a shame that the pantomime that is an 11-hour table thumping exercise that is the full council meeting isn't representative of what really happens in local politics.
No, it's pantomime to a degree. I'm glad that I'm going to be a few hours late on Tuesday because I've got work and I was refused leave, so I'll be turning up about 4:30. It's people, because it's a public meeting, you just kind of want to make your stand, and also it's the last one before the elections. You normally get some contentious motions going in that will go into leaflets ultimately, so you will be hearing about that. I didn't put a motion in. I knew it was my last meeting. I didn't want to put a motion in. Like, I used to love speaking all the time at full council meetings. COVID killed it off to a degree. Doing meetings over Teams just sucked the fun out of anything. Being a councillor, because you couldn't see people, you were just like politics became a lot more polarised because you're just shouting on the internet for a good 6 months at that point. People were just couldn't go out and negotiate with people. You were just arguing constantly. But it is a pantomime, and it's still kind of like that in planning a little bit. I left planning this year, but I have been on planning for 3 years, and that supposed to it's a proper committee. You're not supposed to be political at all, but you could see it. You could see people arguing with each other and voting maybe or maybe not within party lines, but that's what upsets me about the politics kind of side of it. And I know I said that I'm never Tories, but there is a degree of being so against each other that you want to shout at each other at full council meetings, when actually in committee meetings or cabinet meetings or meetings with officers, we all to a degree get on really well. Not have a laugh. I do have a laugh with quite a lot of people.
Yeah, but it's not kind of the I was trying to think of the right phrase. It's not the performance theatre that it's almost in a sense that full council is the council's grant of PMQs. There aren't the number of real questions or real solutions that get proposed and dealt with is actually a small proportion of the conversation, whereas what most people remember, and actually most of the people watching are only party activists anyway, probably from for most of the time. But most of it is just performance theatre. You couldn't run any other organisation like that without someone from HR taking you to one side and to words to the effect of, "Did you have to be quite a dick about
Dick.
it?" Okay, you can say that. Yeah.
I haven't called anyone a dick in a meeting. I said a few years ago, "You've all got a hard on for parking." That was my probably.
Yes, I remember a particular time leader of a particular political group, who shall remain nameless, got particularly excised about. Yes, they did get kind of really.
Also, I said the word spaffed about someone, and
Yes.
Donna got really upset. And then I said spaff, like I was like, "I'm sorry, I used the word spaffed over Teams." And then my husband was sat behind me and was like, "Didn't Boris use the word spaff?"
He did, yeah.
He might have used it. I think we need to move on to the next question.
Yes, yeah. Let's move on before we start. Yeah. So there are too few women councillors on city council. About a quarter of the 42 councillors, if actually slightly less, are actually women. So why do you think that is, and how can what can everybody do, the parties I guess specifically, because they're the largest recruiters, if you like, of future councillors, do to address this lacking of diversity and representation in city councils?
Women just don't want to be councillors. I think they look into it and see that it's just a load of arguing with people. People certainly know what I've been through, and maybe like Councillor Barrett's watching. Hello, I've seen the message. It's really lovely. That you get a lot of crap, and I think you have to be mentally prepared to be a councillor. And I've learned to kind of just out of sight, out of mind it. I deliberately don't look at. Well, sometimes I look at comments and stuff, but I won't. I have people blocked on Twitter. Especially over trans rights issues, I have like a plugin that blocks anyone who's like gender critical, because they really like to go in on you and say really truly appalling things. So I don't see that. I've seen that some famous people have retweeted me screaming stuff at a protest before, and that's quite fun. But other than that, women don't want to run because they see how women are treated in politics. Also, I think I would love for more women to be able to stand up, and I'd love to support them to be councillors. But my advice has always been, don't do it to a degree. Like, if you're so set and intent on doing it, I am absolutely someone you should talk to, and I will support you the full way. It's just that there is a lot of like kind of mental work that has to go into putting yourself forward and putting yourself on the front line like that. And to a degree, you've got to be a bit narcissistic, haven't you, if you want to be a politician, because you've kind of got to be like, it's about me, you need to look at me, I need to tell you things, you need to listen to me and stuff like that. And you'll just get outspoken, like people will be louder than you if you go in as a quiet person, and you'll just lose your way quite quickly, and that puts people off. And yeah, do you want to ask?
Do you think the financial element has a part to play?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, if you're a mother and you're just working minimum wage in a minimum wage family, privately renting a house, you cannot afford to be a councillor. You cannot afford to give your time to be a councillor. So the last year for me has been really hard, because I've not been able to like commit my time as much as I've wanted to. Like, because of my job, I've not been able to go to coffee mornings that I've wanted to go to, and I've been desperate. I'd have to physically book leave from work to go to these now, but I need to earn an income. Like, you can only really be a councillor if you're retired or you have or if you're a woman, you might have a rich partner to support you, or if you know that you won't have to pay, like, won't be completely stuck for rent if you become one, because really it pays what, about 10,000 a year. If it paid minimum wage, paid me 40 hours a week minimum wage, I can just about afford to be a counsellor. It would be tight at home and be even tighter when my bills got about £80 a month next month. It's already quite high as it is, but I should be just to be able to do it then. So I've always been a support of having a proper wage for counsellors so they can devote their time into being a counsellor, because the model that it is, it completely leaves out working parents massively. I don't know how many, quite a few people that I know in the Conservative that are still quite young are like working and stuff, and I know some Lib Dems that are working, but quite a few are retired and they can just put their time into it, definitely.
It's an interesting thing, because listening to those responses, it's actually quite depressing in a way, because here we are in 2022, and fundamentally a lot of those things are misogynistic in their origins, aren't they?
Yeah, like the whole world was built for men. Like, there's books about that too, about how literally everything was built for men, and that we're still so far away. It's not like even like I want like women to be better than men. Like, to a degree, I just want to strive for gender equality. But like nothing, unless there's substantial change, I don't think you'd get the women in unless more women did want to come forward and put the time in. But kids in a job make it really hard, definitely. Especially my kids still being young. Well, they're 7 and 8 now, but from the moment like I said, my daughter was 1 when I started getting involved in this, and they're still not politicised now, which is quite disappointing. But maybe that's a good thing in a way. But I'd like.
Well, I was going to say maybe after you said they kind of,
I've taken my daughter on a march. Took my daughter on a march, and she was like saying, "I hate the NHS," because she was really pissed off that I took her on a march about the NHS. So.
Yeah, if they see all these heavily important social justice issues as competitors for your time, I guess there's an age at which kids obviously don't get that and get that why those things are important. As they get older, they tend to, and you know, hopefully they'll do the whole thing of against you and then agreeing with you as they get older, because that's the.
I said that they'll rebel and turn into Tories. I think that's going to be the ultimate rebellion, isn't it? Like, that would upset me the most.
Well, I
share with, really upset me. I had Ben Shapiro as a son. I'd be devastated.
Ian's just been on the electoral roll just to say that. Happy 18th birthday. Here's a reply. So just to add so quickly some comments. So we've had some lovely comments in the comment stream. So Kimberly Barrett, the councillor for Milton, says that she agrees with the remarks that you were saying about women councillors. 100% true. Took me years to decide to stand, as I hated seeing the fighting, bickering, and vile attacks. Plus, it's never fun being targeted by people, and you become a bit of a type about anything and everything. So you kind of, is that kind of thing of sticking your head above the parapet, isn't it? I guess. But she also said earlier, actually, so lots of love for Claire. The work she has done for the city is amazing, particularly with the LGBTQ plus community. I know I will in the council chamber, and big up for a fellow councillor who is also a mum, works and understands the struggles and pressures that brings trying to do it all. Trying to do it all. That's so lovely.
Yeah, I love Kim, honestly. Kim does, like, Kim
I don't know.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I never get that amount of emails.
I'm
honestly, when you got that, I thought you got a bong out. I was like,
no, he's not. No,
not yet.
Not his kettle of onions. No, not yet. That's later on. But
that's it. We should have a legalising weed program.
Yeah, I must admit, listening to the things that I swear there's actually two of Kimberly somewhere. She's cloned herself somewhere on the line, because I don't know how she gets it all in. I really don't.
Yeah.
And to anybody doing it, anybody putting their name out there is I've got you should have a lot of respect for people, even if we disagree with them politically.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to do that. So
Yeah,
La.
another lovely
Moving
message
on.
that we had on the way in was from a lady called Debbie Suffield, who just asked us to pass on her thanks to you for all the support that you've given her during your time as a councillor. So it's been really nice to see some of those positive messages. And
no doubt I will bump into you at some point.
absolutely. So whatever happens in Charles Dickens, whoever wins there is going to be a first-time councillor. What advice would you give them?
Go to every coffee morning you can. Get to just throw yourself in it. I find it quite hard to initiate conversations with people that I like inherently don't know. When you just walk in somewhere and everyone's kind of looking at you, just makes me freeze. But kind of just throw yourself in there and get to know everyone. There's always something to do in Charles Dickens. Every moment of the day, there's something going on, especially because of the high rate of social housing. Got the big library and stuff. Like, get to know your officers, scope them out. I feel like you should scope officers out, and I probably agree that get to know who.
Have you got a crib sheet on officers you could share with them?
Well, I'd not like a crib sheet, but like if people wanted to talk to me and my honest opinion on some people, then I can clearly give it, but not over this podcast.
Is that kind of like how they like their coffee kind of thing? Is that?
Yeah, I suppose so. But like, it's weird working kind of like with people that have to kind of that are politically neutral, but at the same time are working in kind of because local government. Well, they say Portsmouth don't pay very well. Local government pays well. It's a good job to have, doesn't it? So, are they in the job because they care about the city, or are they in the job because the money's all right? Also, I said this all the time. I've said it at full council meetings. Like all the women that are PAs for like our chief executive, our director of finance, and Councillor Vernon Jackson and stuff are all women, because obviously women do genuinely do a better job at organising diaries than men can. We all know that. But other than that, it's the fact that they all sit outside their offices. So when you walk through that part of the Civic, it's just women sitting outside offices of men, and I hate that bit of it. But I can understand why you would probably inherently, well, men probably wouldn't apply for those kinds of jobs. But at the same time, it's kind of jarring walking through and just seeing women at desks.
It does
Definitely
speak to
madman.
yeah.
It is a bit mad men, do you know what I mean? But there's no kind of Christina Hendricks or the Scientologist one who was in the other thing.
Oh, Elizabeth Moss.
Yes, Elizabeth Moss coming through saying, I'm going to take control of this. I don't see that very often. We have like 1 or 2 female directors, the rest are men. But like that's a common problem everywhere. Did you see the bot over International Women's Day that was retweeting companies that were tweeting about International Women's Day, and there was given the percentage of median pay about how much men were paid more on the median pay than women, and like obviously banks and law firms, huge amount of difference. I think it was 9% men median pay over women in Portsmouth City Council, so not too bad, but some were absolutely astonishing. But that bot was a great thing all day, just completely. It was a good thing to say, better than Richard Herring's, what day is International Men's Day? I don't think he did that this year, but like he normally used to do that.
Yeah, there's always one though, anyway, isn't there?
There was, I think it was the Daily Mash ran the story that said men absolutely gutted as after 364 days in a row they never made the 365th for International Men's Day.
Exactly. I said at work, I was like, every day is International Men's Day. Like I was looking forward to saying that from the morning. Was it Tuesday? I was like, I'm going to get it in, and about by 11 o'clock I'd said it.
So what? So as you're kind of counting down to to the effectively kind of, I guess, to the close of ballots actually on is it May the 5th?
Yep.
Thank you.
What's your future going to look like if you're not going to have to suffer through 11-hour council meetings?
Well, I'll be at work till 4:30. Do you know what? I'll probably tune in for a bit because I'm a glutton for punishment, and I do have an interest in local politics, which will never ever go away. And I'll still be doing community work, which I'm very much looking forward to in my spare time. But yeah, I'm looking forward to not sitting through the pantomime. Like, I used to love going to meetings all the time because I was going to uni in the first 2 years. So I was always in the civic. I was always going to meetings, and then COVID hit and it just stopped. And COVID did kill it a lot for me because it was just kind of like, I know you have meetings on Teams and that's cool. Like, working from home has been a revelation. It's finally happened. It should have happened a very long time ago. But at the same time, the kind of participation of people being around a table was really useful for a lot of people, and that kind of killed it off. It was a bit sad.
So, children grown up, looking
So,
to the future, are we never saying never, or could we see a return of the UD?
of the UD, that sounds fun, doesn't it? Well, maybe if I take over control of 11,000 people on Facebook, I could set up a campaign with my own political party in the long run. But other than that, I think if I'm a lot older and I'm angry about an issue, I would think about coming back. But it needs to be when the kids are a hell of a lot older. Maybe my kids might want to get involved in local politics, but like I said, they'll probably rebel and turn into Tories. So if they want to join the Conservative Party,
So,
no.
so I'll let you into a little insight, Claire, which is my father used to be he was a staunch trade unionist.
Well, there you go.
And he was the president of the National Association of Wallpaper, Decorative and Allied Trades, a true socialist in his nature. So he wouldn't be happy at the way I've turned out. So it could go wrong for you, Claire.
I'd be quite disappointed, but like, it's up to them what they want to do. But like, I've not forced them into anything at all. Like, I'm terrified to even tell them about climate change because I don't want to freak them out. Like, my dad used to have the news on all the time when I was a kid, like 6 o'clock news before 24-hour rolling news. And like, my earliest memories are like the end of like the Gulf War, Dunblane massacre. I remember watching that on TV, and what was it, 96? It was the anniversary like today, wasn't it, or yesterday? And I remember watching that on TV and being terrified. I was only in primary school at the time, and it's just like my daughter, she's a bit weird. Like, she won't mind me saying like that. She said she's got a digital radio alarm clock in her room, 7 o'clock. It goes off because she always talks about the Dave Berry breakfast show on Virgin Radio. She's only 7. But I've tried to get her to change it to 7:10 because I don't want her to listen to the news. She's like, I like listening to depressing news. She's 7. It's gonna scar her.
What? Yeah, sorry. There's What's okay? Well,
Just imagine me, but tiny and insane, and that's Daisy. So.
Okay.
I don't think we can. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're not. At least we're not prepared to.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah. Well. Kids, they find their own way. We have another lovely comment from Elliot. Thank you for your champion work for the LGBTQIA+ community. So another thank you there from Elliot. So the comment, there's lots of love there coming in the comments there, Claire. So Ian.
Yeah, so I guess the final question is, what about being a local councillor are you going to miss the most?
Coffee. I said it a million times. Coffee morning, cakes. I went to that D-Day thing, didn't I, as a councillor? That was the most surreal day that I've ever had. Like, I was sat feet away. Like, Gerald was talking to Justin Trudeau, right? Like, literally talking to him, and I managed to wave down to Gerald, and Gerald said something to Justin, and then Justin waved at me, and I thought I fell pregnant just by that wave. He was so good.
There was a fair bit of swooning going on in Lib Dem circles.
No, honestly. I met Jeremy Corbyn properly that day. I'd seen him out and about because I'd gone to like Toll Puddle, but that was the day I properly met Jeremy Corbyn and had a chat with him. And hello, Jeanette. I was just seen the chat.
I've just seen Jeanette. Yeah.
And obviously working with Jeanette has been really great because we have a laugh and we both have similar politics, and we're just great with each other. I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss pissing about with Dave Ashmore and Tom to a degree as well. I can still go to things in the ward. It's not going to stop me going to things, isn't it? Obviously, we used to have all right drinks after council, like when Dave Fuller was mayor. Miss those. Miss Lord Mayor's dinners are most surreal things. I had to bow to a picture of the Queen and say thank you the first time, and I was like, what are we doing? Like, I don't do this.
Was the rainbow dress in play that evening as well?
No, do you know what? I spend so much money on clothes, on charity shops mostly, but I have an outfit for everything. I did wear it again since. When I went up, my first time as a council, the full council where you get like inaugurated or whatever, I wore a purple sequin dress, very regal. And I've normally tried to have a different, unique outfit every full council and makeup look. The councillors certainly know about it, but it's because I know I am on camera, so I try and look nice. People are going to miss the fashion that I brought to the council.
There we go.
And again, it's a very
not so much
difficult one
Emily
for
in
me to
Paris.
comment
It's clearing the chamber kind of thing, isn't it? But
yeah, like I just have no filter really, which is another thing I've learned about myself over the last couple of years, and I'm going through a diagnosis process for like autism and ADHD, is that I can embrace my no filter a little bit. So council meetings can be like, but I've learned to kind of restrain myself and sit here and not say something, because sometimes I just want to shout at people when people say really like the was it the LGBT motion that we did, conversion therapy, and then Matt Atkins said something and like everyone was really crap, but I'm like, I think I was very restrained in what I said because I spoke after him, but like people were just like, oh my god, because Claire 2-3 years ago would have screamed. I did scream at someone at the full council meeting about a year in because they took campaigning photos outside my house. I won't mention any names, but I started screaming in the middle of full council and I had to turn the stream off. And Steve Pitt was like, congratulations, I was the last person who made them do that.
and I think so look, it's been an absolutely fantastic show, and thank you. I guess we've got to raise a glass to Jarvis Cocker and his chums, who obviously got you suitably lubricated enough that you just agreed to say yes and come on.
If anyone else wants to go to Butlins, get pissed, and then agree on podcast, they're quite welcome.
Yeah,
we are not shy in terms of why people come on, just provided they come on. So
I quite enjoyed it, and I've been avoiding it this whole time. I have quite enjoyed hearing the sound of my own voice for the last hour. It's been quite nice. And also, I did say to Simon in messages that you should branch out your presenters, and like I know that you have like a blue and a yellow. You should have a women anarchist on the other side, like.
Well, I did again. The guest presenter role remains open, Claire, and with more time on your hands, then your people can talk to our people. I'm sure we can find something to make it work.
I wish I said I had people, but I don't. It's just me.
Truth is, we don't have.
When we say our people,
really...
what he means is me googling. Yeah, it's just me researching stuff on the internet. That's what he means. But yeah, no, thank you. That was really good. But it's really worth the wait.
Who watched that? I can see comments. That one comment there. But other than that, we're skipping past that.
Yes. So yeah, well done.
So,
but thank you for finally fitting us in.
No, that's been brilliant. And Claire, look, on our politics don't align, but we've spoken to enough councillors to know just how bloody hard you guys work, and it's a thankless task. So, on behalf of the people of Portsmouth and the people of Charles Dickens, thank you for giving 4 years of service and bringing a real splash of colour and vibrancy to an often grey chamber.
Thank you. That's really lovely.
And we didn't have to bleep anything out at all.
No, like minimal swearing. We did well.
We should all be proud.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Family show. You've been listening to the Pompey Politics podcast. I've been Ian Tiny Morris.
And I've been Councillor. Oh, was it you next? Sorry, I've been Councillor.
No, it was just me throwing to you. Let's do that again, Ian. Come on, let's get this right. Ian?
Let's get this right. Come on, we're in unity. You've been listening to the Pompey Politics podcast. I've been Ian Tiny Morris.
And I've been Councillor Claire Udy. My pronouns are she, they. Thank you.
And I've been Simon Sansbury. Please do join us next week at 6:27. We'll be announcing that during the week. But also, don't forget, we've got upcoming hustings for May's local elections. So we're reorganising those, and we announced this week the first one has been scheduled in, which is for Cosham on April the 3rd. So do keep an eye, and if the candidates you're supporting in your ward, ask them if they've agreed to come on just yet. Join us next week, 6:27.